Okay, welcome. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over guiding honors projects and independent study. I'm Tony Guerra, and I am a doctor of pharmacy. I always think it's weird to hear from someone and not see them, so I threw in a couple pictures here. It's my 5th year here at DMACC, Des Moines Area Community College. I am chair and instructor of the Pharmacy Tech program. I'm an honors instructor, and a little bit of background about me academically. I do have an associates from DMACC, but my BA is in English from Iowa State, and then I have a professional degree from the University of Maryland, and those are my triplet daughters. Well, let's start with the presentation. I'm going to first talk about how you become involved in the honors program and go on to a couple of case studies. There are different levels, really. First, you can have honors students in your class, or you can do an entire class in which you work one-on-one with just one student, and I'll go over all 3 of these points. So first, becoming involved with the honors program. What class do you want to become an honors section? Here in Community College, we usually teach 4 or 5 classes a semester. So if you have maybe 3 different ones that you teach, pick the one that you like the best. For me, it would be pharmacology. 1 or 2. I teach an honors section in fall and spring, and I also have the most expertise in that. My background is as a pharmacist, so although I understand and I know the other classes as well, this is the one I have a real passion for and creating new content for. To get involved, just a matter of contacting the honors director, and she was very accommodating and really helpful, and all it took was just a couple of emails back and forth and approval by the administration, and then I became honors faculty, and I was allowed to teach the honors students. But it's a relatively easy process. Don't ever let that get in the way of being something that gets in the way of you becoming an honors instructor. So the second part is really what I really wanted to get into, which is the case study and conducting class with honors students. There's a misconception that it's going to be a significant number of students. For me, it's really just been 1 each semester, and that makes it a lot easier, I think, or at least because I just started doing this. But the most important piece for me has been the contract, and the honors director has done a great job putting together a great contract that allows us to understand who's on both sides, what are the due dates and grading, where those should go, the students' goals, and we really want to match up your expectations as faculty and their expectations as a student, and the closer that those match at the end, the better off I think everyone's going to be. I'm sure there's been a time where you've talked to someone and you've said something and you expect they understood something, but then later on found out that wasn't exactly it. And by writing this down, this makes it work really well. So first, it's the important back and forth dialogue between you and the student. And really, the first presentation that comes to you shouldn't be what you end up with. Revision is really key, and I'll talk to that point a little bit. Although there's more time than the second week to get this done, by doing it by the second week, you've really solidified that this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it, and it goes into Parkinson's law. Parkinson's law says that the work expands to the amount of time given for it. So if you have 10 weeks to do a project, it'll take you 10 weeks to do it. If you have 2 weeks to do it, you'll somehow find a way to do it in 2 weeks. And that first week is a little bit chaotic, but definitely by the end of the second week, I've always had these contracts done. There's 5 meetings over the semester at a minimum, and this gives about 3 weeks between meetings, but should still have weekly contact by email, phone, or whatever, but these 5 meetings are critical and serve as a good way to have endpoints and progress points for your student. But you really want to be flexible as the project evolves, and because there's going to be discovery, there's going to be discovery between faculty, discovery from the student that, wow, I thought this was going to go this direction and ended up this direction. But make sure it stays on track. Don't let it become a new project. Just let it maybe move its focus a little bit, but stay on task. Okay. So how do you figure out what the project is? And I think this is the part that can take the longest, when really just a simple back and forth can take care of this. So the first is that the honor student makes a proposal and says, these are my interests, and the initial proposal is probably going to be very broad. But the other thing to consider is that the student might be new to college, the student might be new to doing semester-long projects, and might really want to get a lot of guidance from the faculty member. So you really want to kind of gauge that. I recommend reducing the proposal to one very specific topic. And when I say, are you competent in this topic, I mean the faculty member. Is this something that you're especially competent in, that you can give really good advice, really good content for the student? But then are you interested? And I feel like there's a real danger in that the student pays for the course, the student is in honors, so the student should decide, this is what I want to do. But I really think that it needs to be a two-way street in which the faculty member has a deep interest in the topic, because if the faculty member also has a deep interest in the topic, then we're going to get a lot more energy into the project, and it's going to be a lot better result. So I think revise to a compromise works really well, which is you just keep going back and forth until you get something that is both interesting to both of you and something that you're going to be very competent in. Feasibility is a real big thing with this, because honor students tend to be very busy, and honor students tend to want to create big projects, and that's fine in the beginning of the semester. But things happen during the semester. Honor students tend to have large course loads, but also honor students must maintain a certain GPA. So I recommend focusing on a small project with a potential big impact on the student's peers, and your research interests as well. So the sample project one of my students is working on, which is, and I'm just giving the generality, I'm not going to tell you who the person is, but what kind of health practitioner do they want to be? And this makes sense. A student is coming into college for the first time, has an interest in grad school, not quite sure what professional course of study to go in. And looking to the far right, well, as a faculty member, I advise students who want to attend pharmacy school, so I understand graduate school, but I understand a lot of professional schools. And then I also have experience creating multimodal content, which is a fancy way of saying YouTube videos. So how can we bring these things together? So the Honors Project combines the students' questions and the faculty's expertise. They create multimodal content highlighting solutions for herself and what she can share with her peers. And what's important is that as this project is evolving, I'm able to see, oh, well, that's not exactly right, but I can see how you can see how you would interpret it that way. But this is actually the requirement for professional school. So what it does is it allows me to both be an advisor to the Honors Project, but also an advisor to her ultimate goal of getting into graduate school, hopefully saving her years of maybe going the wrong direction or something like that. So there's big impact with what seems like a small project. There's 3 choices. Which one is it? And let's find a solution. I'm a big fan of creating an example. It's so easy to say, well, this is what I expect, and then the student says, okay, well, I understand what you're saying, and maybe they do and maybe they don't. I feel it's always easier to create a video that shows exactly what I want and want it to look like, and then the student can go off and do it on their own and take that route or take that example and kind of run with it. But when I say I want a video with 3 major points, and for those points to be explained, then this way the student understands, okay, well, I'm going to go with 1 graduate program, the 2nd graduate program, the 3rd graduate program, and then my decision between the 3 based on what I've learned over the semester. So what I want you to do is I want you to type this into, well, pause this video, and then type, can't pause the video and listen to me at the same time, silly. Okay, so you're going to type these titles into the search bar, pre-pharmacy, the perfect PCAT, and getting into pharmacy school, and then best pre-pharmacy major. And if you just open up 2 new tabs, you can do that, and then you'll pause this video. And what I want you to do is I want you to watch those videos and see how they're a little bit different. The first video, it's very delineated. This is the first part of it, this is the second part of it, this is the third part of it. Pre-pharmacy is the first part. The perfect PCAT, which is an entrance exam that students going into pharmacy school have to take, is the second part. Getting into pharmacy school, the third part, which delineates what are the things that the student would have to do to get into pharmacy school. The other one is best pre-pharmacy major, and this is a little bit more embedded, in which kind of asked a couple of questions at the beginning to set up what are some maybe misconceptions, and then I went into that mode of 3 points, this point, this point, this point, and then conclusion. And what I want the student to get out of these videos is, this is how I want you to frame it. You want to have a question that can be divided into 3 parts. Get these 3 pieces of evidence and allow these 3 pieces of evidence to work towards your goal and what your conclusion is going to be. But by making these videos for her, it just makes it easier for me to say, this is what I want to see, and then her PowerPoints are completely different in their design and things like that, but the overall goal is still there. So the student sees what they want to do, they need to do. They produce a piece of work to be evaluated. The faculty returns this work to the student for revision and expansion. And this is where I think the best part of this is, where the student gets some feedback one-on-one, and then the faculty member gets to see, oh, they're getting this or they're not getting that. And then also gets to see, wow, look what the student did. I really wasn't expecting that. And so impressed with what the students are doing. I had no idea many of these students have been doing PowerPoint since they were in 3rd grade. Then the student compiles the work throughout the semester, but because we have these checkpoints, we know work is getting done, and then the student eventually will present the work to her peers. Creating an independent study class is a completely different beast. It is, I'll go through how it happens, but then let you know that you really want to pause before you just say, oh sure, that'll be fine, because this is a much deeper pool to wade in. So first, the student contacted an honors director for potential for independent study, identified a faculty member, which was me, and then we had an informal conversation regarding the interests, the expectation, the time available on both sides. And that was a really big deal because it was during summer and it's a 10-week session. So I need to make sure that the student is going to be able to do 2 full credits worth of activity, and I want to make sure that I can supervise 2 full credits worth of activity one-on-one. And then we ended up with a formal agreement for independent study. But I'm going to show you how much work I put into that, delineating what I expect and what needs to be done. So first, deciding to build a course. I recommend building it just as you would any other class. And I'll give you the reasons for that in a minute. So the pros, it's a one-on-one opportunity for a student in a select field of study, great opportunity for a student to work with a faculty member. And this is amazing at the community college level that we have this honors program and we can do it. We can go in depth in instructor's primary field of expertise, which for me is pharmacology, but specifically undergraduate pharmacology for students that are in the health professions. Unique learning can occur that might not be available in other courses. We really took advantage that I am an English undergraduate major and incorporated that. And it might be publishable on both sides. The student actually created a book that DIY publishable book, and I might be able to put this in a journal and writing across the curriculum or something like that. The cons, there's a significant time commitment on both sides, and a failure on either side will really heighten disappointment, because if one side puts in a significant amount of time and the other side falls short, well, somebody's going to be really disappointed. So the stakes are really upped here. So I think it requires a significant and detailed outline, what is going to be done over the semester, and this really needs to be gone over in the very beginning. The third part of it is that the student needs to make a transition. Students used to, I need to do this, and I'm going to get a grade for doing that. This independent study is a shift from the way maybe a bachelor student thinks, and, well, if I've done all the check boxes, then I get this grade. This is PhD student thinking. This is, I'm learning through a process how to do this, and hopefully the faculty member can assess whether or not the student would be comfortable in that type of environment, because the project at the end, or the project itself, is not the most important thing. It was the failures or the challenges and overcoming those challenges that the student had during the semester that I think are most important to an independent study class. Because really the PhD is a mentorship. It's one of the last mentorship programs we have in this country. And I think the honors independent study class is that really awesome chance to have that one-on-one. So these are my general recommendations for the independent study class. Make a full syllabus, just as if you were making a 3-credit class for 24 or 100 people. Add significant content. You can always pull back. Smaller readings with multiple essays instead of one big paper at the end of each week. Because I think just it's easier to digest a little bit and then create this essay, digest a little bit. So some of the essays will be good and some of the essays will need work, or whereas with a larger paper or a larger weekly submission, it's a lot tougher to divide it. Definitely recommend using multimodal content, so videos and included in this as well. But keep a uniform weekly pattern. This doesn't make it boring. It just makes it so that the student knows, okay, I'm going to read a chapter, I'm going to read this particular essay, I'm going to write an essay on it, and then I'm also going to create some kind of creative component, or at least that's how I did it with this one. Here's an example of a sample week in the syllabus. This was week 3. I wrote a book, Drug Names Decoded, and I just asked that the students submit the quiz at the end of the chapter so that I know that they're competent in that particular pathophysiologic condition. In this case, it's musculoskeletal. And then the readings. This is where we really had a lot of fun. The student was interested and very good at creative writing, had an English background, and I have my undergraduate degree in English, and I have my doctoral work in pharmacology. So this is really where language fits into the STEM fields, and I've seen STEAM as an acronym where it's the STEM, S-T-E and M, and then we add an A for the arts. But really what we're doing is we're taking the reading that someone would read in the arts, and it would be the subjective part of a SOAP note, subjective objective assessment plan that a health practitioner would make, and it really worked well together. So this is something I couldn't pull off really in any other class, so I'm starting to get it into my pharmacology class, but a really, really neat thing to be able to do. But a lot of reading, a lot of writing, and a lot of work on the student's part and I was very excited to get this kind of opportunity. But you can go through it and see that we're using really a lot of literature that's before the 1800s. Othello with Shakespeare, Franklin and the Gout with Ben Franklin's autobiography, The Wound Dresser, poem by Whitman, a contemporary piece, nonfiction piece called The Patient by an author named Ryder about getting run over by a bus. And then the student had a creative component. So really a fantastic opportunity for, I think, both of us. This is a sample video, just a multimodal content that I had with it. This is Drug Names Decoded Chapter 2. I've since written a newer book. It's called A Little Pharmacology Paperback. And this group of videos, 8 videos, had 15,000 views in, I want to say, 10 months. So obviously a need for this kind of pronunciation video, but the point I want to make is that by making these videos, not only do you help the student, but you also make yourself an online expert in some very narrow field, and in mine is the pronunciation of pharmacologic drugs. So I did move it to for my personal channel, so this might only have maybe 30, 40, 50 views on it. But what it did was it provided repetition. A lot of times there's a very small component that needs significant repetition before the student gets it. So that's what I did with these drug videos. And then I was able to integrate my regular pedagogy with the honors work. So final thoughts: honors programs an opportunity for students and faculty. Take on only as much as you can to provide an excellent experience. So tempting to want to say, oh, absolutely, let's do it, but maybe say, okay, well, this semester I have such and such honor students, but maybe for next semester that would be a good thing. I can put you first on the list. And then the more time you spend in the beginning, the better the whole program is going to work out. So hopefully this was helpful to you. And then for those faculty that are going to be using this for a lunch and learn, I have the questions in a document on my instructor website under my last name.